Hi there, my name is Sarah. I work for the Sault Ste. Marie Public Library, and today I wanted to take a few minutes to go over scholarly databases and give you my top 5 tips for using databases effectively as a student. So just before we get started, you will need a library card in order to access the database I'll be going over today. If you don't have a library card, head on over to the library's website at ssmpl.ca, go to the Using SSMPL tab, and then go to Get a Library Card. On this page, there is a form that you can fill out to apply to get a card, and someone from the library will be in touch with you. There's also an email you can contact if you're having issues with your library account. Okay, so let's say you have your library card, and maybe you have a research project that's due and you need some sources. The library's closed, your school is closed, you don't have your own personal supply of academic research articles, and you're having trouble finding reliable websites. What now? Fortunately, the library's got you covered. This time, in the library's menu, you'll go to Research and then Online Resources. This takes you to a list of the library's online databases, as well as some helpful websites. For today, we'll be focusing on Gale Power Search, although I do encourage you to check all of these websites out. Open the database, input your library card number, and you're all set. Okay, so when I'm talking about a database here, what I'm referring to is an organized collection of information. In this case, the information I'm talking about is educational materials, articles, academic journals, videos, chapters of books, just to name a few things. These are things you might not be able to find for free online. If you've ever tried to read a scientific article when you're researching for something, only to just be able to read a summary and then have to pay for the rest, you'll know exactly what I mean. Basically, the library pays to access a whole collection of articles and information for you, so that you don't have to pay for it. And the way you use this database is very similar to a Google search. Put the term or terms you're looking for and go. Let's just use anxiety as an example here. Along the top of the screen, you'll see categories that your results fall into. This usually defaults to magazine articles, but there's a variety of different sources and media formats that you can choose from. For the purposes of this video, we'll pick academic journals. And there you have it, a whole bunch of articles on your chosen topic. For any of these, you can open them up, read through them. If you're like me and absorb things really well by listening, you can even have the database read the article to you. You can sort by relevance as well as by date. So if you're researching a topic that's rapidly changing, where there's a lot of research or new discoveries going on, you can look for only the most recent information. Think about it this way. Do you necessarily want an article about gender identity that's decades old, or one about the coronavirus from 4 months ago? Things have changed a lot since then. This is where databases really shine, by the way. They tend to be much more current and up-to-date than books are. Just think about all the time it would take to get a book to be published, purchased, processed, and added to a library collection, or how much it would cost to keep on adding the newest books on every subject to a library. That's why if someone is looking for current scholarly information, I almost always refer them to a database, because that's where the newest information is going to be. Also, along the side, check out the options for full-text documents. If that's selected, your search results will only include resources where you have full access, not just a preview or a summary. And the next option brings me to tip number 1 of my top 5 tips for using databases. Consider using peer-reviewed sources. Depending on the nature of your research, you may want to select peer-reviewed journals, since these are the most reliable, the best of the best when it comes to academic articles. Peer-reviewed means that not only is the article written by an expert, it's also been checked over by other experts. That means if there's a flaw in the research, a weird assumption, a misinterpretation of data, it's more likely to be caught and corrected. So why is this important? Let's just say that I'm writing a paper on the causes of violent crime, and I find that it correlates with ice cream sales. So ice cream sales go up and violent crime goes up. Ice cream sales go down, violent crime goes down at the same time. This is actually true, by the way. These two things do go together. So I could write a paper and say, hey, it looks like eating ice cream makes people violent. Better stop eating ice cream. And I would have the numbers to back up that claim. But if it's a peer-reviewed journal, another expert in that area would read it and say, hey, I don't think that's right. It's actually hot weather that causes both. The weather gets warmer, people buy more ice cream. The weather gets warmer, people commit more violent crimes because they experience more negative emotions. So in a peer-reviewed journal, hopefully they'll catch these sorts of things. weird interpretations of data, things that have alternate explanations, so you don't just have people claiming that eating ice cream makes you violent. It's an extra set of eyes that helps ensure that the information you're reading is as accurate as possible. Okay, so you've entered a search term. You've decided that you want to look at academic journals. You're looking at full-text, peer-reviewed articles. You're all set, and nothing. None of the articles match what you're looking for. This is where my second tip comes in. Be creative with your search terms. Sometimes, especially if you're at the beginning phases of your project, you actually need to do a bit of research before you even know what your search terms might be. This is where you might want to use encyclopedias, very basic websites that you find in a Google search, or anything that gives you an overview on the topic you're looking for. This is particularly true if you're dealing with jargon, and by that I mean specialized words that are used in a particular subject area. So, for example, instead of peer pressure, after a bit of research you might want to look for conformity or groupthink, if you decide those terms are more relevant to what you're looking for. You also might want to start really broad and find more general, big-picture articles that still apply to what you're writing about. Sometimes there just isn't an article available that is exactly what you're looking for. Or sometimes you might miss a relevant article because you're looking for something a little too detailed. So maybe instead of looking for information specifically on banning books, you might want to look for articles about censorship in general. And finally, there's an amazing tool called the Topic Finder that shows you words and topics that are associated with your search term. This can be a great way of finding new search terms that you know are related to articles in this database. I also recommend creating a document just for different search terms. Use your preliminary research and see if there are words that keep on popping up. Think of related words and use the Topic Finder. Then you'll have a huge range of searches to draw on. Also, while we're on the topic of searching, tip number 3 is use Boolean search operators. So, what are Boolean operators? Just head over to the advanced search selection and take a peek there. The drop-down menu that has and, or, and not, those are all Boolean operators. You can think of this as a way of expanding or cutting down on the results you get. So, let's say you're writing a paper on mental health and you're starting with a really broad search. Let's use anxiety and depression as search terms. Maybe you want to look for results that have the words anxiety and depression. This narrows your results because each search result must fulfill both things. Or maybe you want to look for results that have the words anxiety or depression. This widens your results because each search result can have one term, the other, or both. Or maybe you want to look for anxiety but not depression. That narrows your results again by a bit. So maybe you have a couple terms that might work. You want papers on groupthink or conformity, either is fine. Maybe you're looking for information that talks about 2 specific topics, video games and violence. An article about one or the other isn't going to cut it, you need both. Or maybe you're finding that you're getting a lot of irrelevant information on the topic. You're looking for Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, not Michigan. Boolean operators can help with that. Okay, so now that you're getting more comfortable with searching and hopefully bringing up some articles that match what you're looking for, it's time for tip number 4. Make sure you save the articles you find. If you start to get fancy with your searching, changing your terms, changing how you sort them, you can find what you're looking for more easily and efficiently. But it also makes it harder to repeat the exact same search again and find those exact articles. And trust me, it is ridiculously frustrating when you know that there's the perfect article out there. You've read it, but you just can't access it again because you can't remember what you searched to find it. The good news is, it's easy to save an article that you found here. You can download a copy, you can print it, you can send a copy to one of your cloud storage spaces or to your email. If you think you might use the article, save it for later. And finally, if you stuck with me for this long, here is the ultimate tip that I have about using online databases. It's the one that will save you the most time and the most grief, and that one is, let the database cite your sources for you. Go to any of the resources in the Gale database, scroll to the bottom, and there's a source citation option. This works for MLA, for APA, and for Chicago-style references, although I would still recommend giving them a quick glance over just in case there's a weird error in the system. Life's too short, you're too busy, let the database do the citations for you. Okay, I hope that's helpful and that you feel confident using databases to find, save, and cite the information you need for school. Play around with the website, try different search terms. Trust me, this is going to make your life a lot easier, now and if you decide to pursue college or university. Thank you for watching, and remember to contact the library if you have any questions. We're always happy to help.